Picture this. You're a combat pilot strapped into a multi-million-dollar jet, flying at hundreds of miles an hour, high above hostile territory, your radar screen calm and reassuring, the sky seemingly empty, when suddenly your cockpit erupts with warning tones and flashing lights. Your instincts scream danger, yet every instrument insists there's nothing out there. No blip, no signal, no threat. And in that split second of disbelief, you're experiencing the moment that forever changed aerial warfare. For most of aviation history, air combat was built on visibility and skill, a deadly chess match fought at incredible speeds, where pilots relied on sharp eyesight, reliable radar, and hard-earned experience to survive. If you could spot the enemy first, climb higher, fly faster, or turn tighter, you usually walked away alive. During World War II and the early jet age, pilots often saw the enemy with their own eyes, sometimes close enough to recognize the aircraft type. And later, as radar became more common, those glowing dots on a screen became the lifeline that guided pilots toward or away from danger. Radar was trusted, respected, and feared because if radar could see you, missiles could lock onto you, and survival became a matter of seconds. For decades, aircraft designers assumed detection was unavoidable, so they focused on building planes that were faster, stronger, louder, and more heavily armed, believing that dominance in the air meant overwhelming power. But beneath the surface of the Cold War, as tensions simmered between superpowers, a quiet revolution was taking shape in American laboratories and secret facilities, driven by an unsettling realization. Radar didn't care how brave a pilot was or how powerful an engine could be. It only cared about reflected radio waves. Scientists began asking an uncomfortable question that challenged everything aviation stood for. What if an aircraft didn't need to outrun the enemy, outgun the enemy, or even fight the enemy at all? What if it simply couldn't be seen? Radar works by sending out radio signals and waiting for them to bounce back, revealing an object's position. But engineers discovered that by carefully shaping an aircraft's surfaces, those signals could be scattered away instead of reflected back to the radar source. And when combined with special materials that absorbed radar energy, the aircraft's radar signature could be reduced to a fraction of what traditional planes produced. The result was not sleek or beautiful by traditional standards. Early stealth designs looked angular, flat, and almost alien, defying everything pilots associated with speed and elegance. Yet these strange shapes held a secret power. They could slip through enemy defenses like ghosts. This radical thinking gave birth to the world's first operational stealth aircraft, the F-117 Nighthawk, a jet that broke every rule pilots thought they knew. It carried no radar of its own, relied heavily on computers to stay stable in the air, flew subsonic speeds, and avoided dogfights entirely. Yet it could penetrate the most heavily defended airspace on Earth without being detected. When the F-117 entered combat, enemy radar operators often stared at their screens in confusion, seeing nothing unusual even as precision-guided bombs struck critical targets with devastating accuracy. The Gulf War marked a turning point that stunned military planners around the world. While conventional aircraft required massive support, escort fighters, electronic jamming planes, and suppression of enemy air defenses, stealth aircraft flew alone, deep into hostile territory, night after night, striking command centers, air defense sites, and strategic infrastructure without suffering losses that would have been unthinkable just years earlier. For pilots, this wasn't just a new airplane, it was a completely new way of fighting, where missions were planned around avoiding detection rather than surviving it, and success depended on silence, precision, and timing rather than raw force. One veteran pilot later described it as the strangest experience of his career, flying through airspace that should have been deadly, knowing missiles and radar were all around, yet never being targeted because the enemy simply didn't know he was there. As stealth technology matured, it reshaped not only aircraft, but entire military doctrines. The B-2 Spirit bomber extended stealth to long-range strategic missions, capable of flying halfway around the world and striking targets with precision while remaining nearly invisible, while the F-22 Raptor combined stealth with speed, agility, and air-to-air dominance, proving that invisibility didn't have to come at the cost of performance. Later, the F-35 Lightning II took stealth even further by integrating advanced sensors, data sharing, and situational awareness, allowing pilots to see the battlefield in ways earlier generations could only imagine, turning the aircraft into a flying command center rather than just a weapon. Stealth changed the pilot's role from a reactive fighter into a silent hunter, striking first and leaving before the enemy could respond, and in doing so, it shifted the balance of power in the skies decisively toward those who mastered invisibility. But stealth was never magic, and it was never permanent. As soon as aircraft became harder to see, adversaries began developing new ways to detect them, experimenting with different radar frequencies, infrared tracking, and networked sensor systems designed to catch even the faintest trace of an invisible intruder. This constant struggle between detection and evasion became a technological arms race, pushing innovation forward at an astonishing pace. Yet even as counter-stealth technologies improved, the fundamental truth remained. Forcing the enemy to search blindly while you move freely is a powerful advantage. Today, stealth is no longer a single feature. It is a system of design, tactics, and coordination woven into every aspect of modern air operations, shaping how wars are planned and fought long before the first aircraft ever leaves the runway. For pilots who trained before stealth and flew during its rise, the change was nothing short of historic, transforming air combat from a test of courage and reflexes into a quiet contest of intelligence, engineering, and invisibility. And once that curtain was pulled back, once the sky itself became a place where enemies could exist unseen, aerial dominance would never again be measured solely by speed or firepower, but by who could remain invisible the longest.